Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast that revisits my top favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander, joined by my co-host,
Courtney Autumn.
Venture with us as we set our sights on the infamous Hellmouth to cover 90s cult classic, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follow along from the beginning, spoiler-free, as Courtney views the show for the first time and I revisit the series for new takes and a fresh perspective on its narrative.
Each season, every episode, in order, we will follow Buffy Summers and her friends to examine their character development, the show's underlying themes, along with its major story arcs, all while engaging in conversations, sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, load your crossbows, and join us as we explore the supernatural world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's get into the episode.
Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of Revamped. We are here today to discuss Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2, Episode 12, Bad Eggs. This episode aired January 12th, 1998. Happy New Year. This was the first episode and the introduction to 1998. We're no longer in the same year that the first season aired. We're really transitioning and moving along. I meant to say last episode for Ted that was our last episode for 1997, but I'll say it here. This episode was also written by Marty Noxon, directed by David Greenwalt. And in this week's episode, Sunnydale High students are introduced to the concept of parenting through a unique assignment. They are each given an egg to care for. However, given that Sunnydale is situated on the Hellmouth, these are no ordinary eggs. They are, in fact, demonic alien-like parasites that begin to exert their influence over the town. To complicate matters further, two vampire brothers from the Midwest arrive with plans to eliminate the Slayer. What'd you think of the Gorch brothers?
I mean,
I love them. Little Hector. He's like, come on, Lyle. I just gotta be your little brother. Don't pick on me.
I was like, where are these fuckers come from? Like,
the Midwest, Courtney. The Midwest.
obviously.
This episode, I feel like it's a good filler Monster of the Week one. This is one of the ones that for me personally is on my like lower spectrum of Buffy episodes, but I still enjoy it. But not much goes on this one. It doesn't really drive a whole lot forward. It does have a lot of like metaphor and subtext, which we can connect to another episode later in ways. But overall, it's just like a really quick, clean, out there episode. Very goofy, very silly, kind of funny. And I entirely love the way they do the alien parasitic monster trope. The students are all being controlled by them, and the widespread abduction reminds me a lot of like the late 90s film The Faculty, which is a favorite of mine, and that makes me enjoy this one a lot for that matter, along with like the alien sort of vibes that we get too. It's just missing Sigourney Weaver. Because I also really love that film. I don't know, anything where somebody like takes a host over someone else, it's always kind of interesting how that happens, especially mass abduction. And I can't talk enough about The Faculty. That is hands down one of my favorite like late 90s films. We've talked about it before when we talked about like Clea Duvall. I know I said it doesn't move along much, but I did put that it moves Buffy and Angel's passion to a new level in this episode, because they seem to be betrothed by one another and lacking control of the emotions and feelings that they're sensating, because they're like making out every 2 seconds. They're like, we're gonna go get this work done, we're gonna patrol, and then the next time you see them they're like you know.
I know. I literally put in my notes, I was like, I feel like Buffy and Angel need to, I don't know, take some Adderall or something, because they are not able to focus on task. They cannot stay on task this episode at all.
Adderall is gonna make them go the next level if they take that. Like, they're gonna be focusing all right. What are you talking about? That ain't gonna make. They need to take some Dematorin.
Focusing more on
no, they don't need to take none of that either. I feel like the running joke instead of beg to differ is gonna be Dematorin.
I know.
Like 5 years from now, we can be like, I need some Dematorin. Like, this episode got the demon Torin. Okay, I'm done. What did you think watching it through?
I mean, like you said, it was a good filler vibes episode. It was just a lot of fun. There was not a whole lot of like serious context or anything like that. Not that I took away. And I think that was just from the start, because as soon as I saw that they were having to take eggs home as their assignment for their quote unquote babies, and Buffy's like talking about burping the egg and feeding the egg, I was like, this has got to be the most pointless shit. But yeah, it was a good time for an episode. But yeah, nothing, like you said, moved the plot along other than us seeing Angel and Buffy make out more than we, I think, ever have so far. So at least in one episode.
Which I was here for. Yeah, I thought that was funny whenever, just to touch base on your comments about the redundancy that was Buffy's checklist for burping the egg. And she just like sits on her bed and she goes, check, check. And it's just been set by her thing. I'm like, you did not pick that thing up and actually pat it a little bit and pretend.
What did you feed it? Like, I'm very curious.
I don't know.
At least she didn't hard boil it like Xander.
For real.
Failed.
This shit's so goofy. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into the episode then, so that way we can see what's in store.
In every generation there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, the demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer.
We open up the episode in a new location, the Sunnydale Mall. Were you like, the mall? Like, I
yes,
was.
Literally. I was like, oh, what true 90s vibes? Because, like, when's the last time you were in a mall? Like, 2001, probably.
That's what I'm saying. Who else misses the mall? The 90s mall was, like, top tier vibes. I loved being in the mall. Like, honestly, up until, like, I was about 14, 15. But I loved, like, Christmas time. We'd go to KB Toys. And, like, I'd get to pick out anything I wanted. Like, shopping was awesome. I don't know. And we grew up in an area
where it was lacking.
Yeah, like it didn't have Hot Topic, which would have been an obsession of ours, or like a Spencer's. We didn't have those stores in our mall.
Mall was not for alternative people.
They had Chick-fil-A in it, and that was about it. It wasn't like a mall like that you can go to Columbia and there's like a food court and all those elements. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say we had to drive a good hour to get to like the stuff we really wanted. And
yeah, like Columbia and a center. I remember going when my dad would drop my sister off, and I like
were you always so excited to go to Spencer's?
100%, and Hot Topic. I knew exactly where it was, which it was beeline right as soon as you walked in the main door from the back exit. I was like always telling my dad, because he always wanted to park on the opposite side. I was like, no, you got to go to the entrance with the carousel, so it's close to Hot Topic. And then I'd want to ride the carousel like the first couple of times we went, and then he's like, don't you want to ride the carousel? I'm like, fuck no, we gotta go to Hot Topic. I got $12 to spend. And then I could only get like a little bracelet with spikes on it or something, you know.
Now you couldn't even get that.
For real. But Buffy is out shopping with Joyce, who is discussing the streetwalker outfit Buffy thought she looked good in, but definitely is not getting. She's like, you are not having that. AKA she can have it when she's too old to wear it. With too much going on, Joyce sends Buffy to pick up her outfit that she had tailored while she goes and gets flyers for her drug art, hoping to kill two birds with one stone. I call her drug art. She sells it for, money. She wants her to go to the store and get that stuff so that they can meet up at the food court ready for dinner. Buffy heads off to do that, but when riding the escalator down a level passes the female couple we opened up on, moving up on the neighboring escalator next to her. At first glance, everything is normal. She's like, oh, cute vibes, like boyfriend, girlfriend vibes. Look at me, an angel. But then she double takes into the mirror line in the escalator to realize the girl is traveling alone, as the cowboy hatted male has no reflection. And what does that mean? Vampire. She turns running back up the stairway immediately, following the couple who are ahead of her in the mall, catching up to them in the arcade, just as the man's vamping out behind her as she plays a pinball game. And the vampire's like, boy, ain't you just got about the prettiest neck I ever did see? Because he pulls her hair off her neck, and she hasn't paid any attention. You know what I mean? He's like literally a vampire behind her. She just thinks she's hanging out with this like guy she's just met. I guess he met her at the mall, perhaps. Kiss ass. I'm not sure. But Buffy's calling out his cheesy, unoriginal pickup lines behind him, and the girl sasses at Buffy. She's like, how about you get the fuck out of here? I'm with my mans right now. And Buffy's like, oh, well, that's my man you cheating with right now. She's like,
you promised you'd never cheat on me again, honey.
And like that girl's like, I ain't trying to be no part of no drama, even though I was about to beat your ass, little blonde girl. And then she turns and sees the vampire's face. She's like, oh fuck, and then pieces the fuck out.
I know. She was like so concerned with like making sure she looked attractive that she didn't even like bother looking back to see like what he looked like. I'm like, does she not know? Like the whole time I was like, does she know that he's a vampire? And she's like 1, 2, and she's about to like go full vamp face, and I don't know what's happening. But then I was like, no, this bitch is straight up delusional like Joyce.
No, she's about to get gobble up. And honestly, that just kind of shows what kind of shit happens in this world, not just in Sunnydale. Obviously, Sunnydale is probably more overrun with vampires than your average place in certain ways, but this is like a typical night for a vampire going out to get his meal, and she's an unsuspecting victim, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it. And she's like oblivious. She just thinks she met this guy that's probably been playing up the last couple hours sweet in the mall or wherever he met her at. He was about to eat her up in the fucking arcade and leave her body in there. That's what I'm saying. Once she's gone, Buffy steps up to him, and he kind of steps up to her, and he's like, well, all right, sugar lips, giddy up. And I like this scene too because they kind of like circle each other for a second. They like pan around one another and like they square in. And I think he was just going to grab her to bite her. He was just like, oh, this is some other girl that happened to be in their arcade and whatever. But he thinks he's going to move in on her when Buffy deals several attack punches and kicks him to the face. And one of them is to his dick. And then he's like, you're a rough one. He's like, I like that. And then he advances back on her, swinging and missing, her dodging. And I was like, damn, he can't get a lick on this bitch at all. She's like, whoo, whoo, shwoo. Damn, Buffy, all that workout and that aerobicizing you've been doing was really coming in handy. But he does finally get one lick on her and throw her across the room, smashing her into the pinball game, grabbing hold of her, saying, you must be that Slayer I've been hearing so much about. I have some audio clips that's in here that I'll be taking out my stuff that I almost don't want to now because it's almost funnier when I like impersonate them. Yes. And then he introduces himself. He's like, I'm Lyle Gorge. Pleased to meet you. And she's like, the pleasure's mine, kicking him across the room as he rolls back, doing a cool move to pick up his hat too in the tumble process, because as soon as he flips back, he like grabs his hat and pops it right back on. It was just very smooth. I was like, I like him as a vampire, and that's probably why I like him, because he has this energy the whole episode, and obviously we can talk about it later, but like he's very quirky in his energy, and he also like really kind of calls stuff as he sees it, but you can also tell his mentality is on the lower end of the spectrum of thought process, as is his brother, where his brother actually sits and kind of thinks about things like, you know, he's saying he's planning this stuff about the Slayer, but he's really just biding his time waiting for his next like kind of sporadic attack. He ain't doing nothing extra and special.
Hell no. He's not calculated at all.
But he fucking dips, and Buffy just kind of stares off at him because, you know, at this point she's pulled out her stake ready to stake him and all that stuff. I always enjoy the scene. I know I was just saying like with Lyle and how Buffy is in this mall atmosphere in an arcade at that. It's just a cool cold open. We haven't seen them all before. We haven't ever seen her take down a vampire besides like at the school or in a cemetery near the Bronze, or, you know, out in an alleyway, whatever. But it just changed us up from those normal cemetery vibes. And I also like this introduction of the vampire villain and him finding out that this is the Slayer, having thought that this was just maybe another meal and just a girl that happened to be a passerby, but he learned real quick. And then the fight scene is just chef's kiss to me, with all the Buffy banter and him even snarking back the way that he does, and with like the southern drawl, even the music that's playing, like whenever they start to square up, it's got that like Texan kind of like little flair to the Buffy music that we usually get for the people that do the score. I don't know, that Wild West vibe was like going hard, and it's kind of throughout the episode sprinkled there. And I can't not mention the way that Buffy noticed Lyle was a vampire, like not seeing his reflection. That was just a really cool element in the show for Buffy's awareness, you know, because other people wouldn't have paid that any fucking lick of nothing. And it just shows the sensory atmosphere that Buffy like hones in on when it comes to like the Slayer powers and all that. For her to clue herself in that way, that's fucking unique for them to do that. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a fun way to play on the vampire trope that they have no reflection to, and a subtle reminder that vampires have no reflection, because you don't get to see that. Because why would you? The last time we really got it was like Willow asking Angel if he shaves, you know, stuff like that. Or whenever Buffy and Angel sit in her room and you see her talking to him, but you can't see his reflection in the mirror. They get to put it every now and again, but it's not a common theme that shows up very often.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really like that part too, because at first I had to do a double take because I was like, wait, is there another escalator going by? You know, because at first it didn't look like a mirror, so I was so tripped out for a second. I was like, why is there two of the same girl? And then I was like, oh wait, it's a mirror. And then I was like, oh wait, he has no reflection. Like it was like this, like, you know, the snowball effect where it took like a little bit of time, but then I finally got there and I was like, oh shit, we're starting off early. Like we're starting out fresh out the gate as soon as the episode starts.
That shit sucks too, because Buffy meets back up with Joyce, who's gotten them blissful mall food, upset with Buffy having no dress in her hands, and now the store's closed, guessing that she got distracted by a boy. I like that, because Buffy's like, technically, yes, I did actually, but she's like, I can't tell you any more than that. And then obviously her mom has to lecture her about her irresponsible nature, wondering if she ever thinks about anything other than boys and clothes. And of course Buffy does, and she like actually has the quote where she's like,
saving the world from vampires.
and her mom's like, what? And she like leans back, crosses her arms. She's like, sometimes I just don't know what goes on in your mind. And then we cue the Buffy theme. It's nice to see Buffy and her mom hanging out still. This is like a second episode in a row where we have a good presence of Joyce. In the fact that the first half of the season, we didn't really see much of Joyce. But now they over here at the mall shopping together, which I loved. And it does suck, though, once again, Buffy's Slayer life getting in the way. Buffy obviously gets the back end of the situation because Joyce is always getting this negative impression of Buffy and her responsibility or lack thereof, which will be entirely our theme the whole episode. So I like how they like threw that in there. But that shit sucks for Buffy. I just gotta always say is like she tries her hardest. If she hadn't seen that vampire, she would have made it to the store. She would have came back to her mom. They would have had like a nice, unimpressionable night. She would have just been like, oh, I'm having a great time with my daughter. Now the rest of her night's plagued with my daughter literally forgot my clothes and now I've got to go take an hour off my weed break tomorrow to go get my fucking dress or dry cleaning or whatever the fuck it was. You know what I mean?
Okay. It's like, I gotta do one less drug run.
She's like, it's a tough day at the gallery tomorrow. It's Wednesday. That's our biggest day.
It's Wednesday, weed day.
She loves anything that got a W at the front of it. Or an M for Mary, marijuana.
Or a T for Ted. T, T, T.
I'm going to put the clip for T, T, T here.
I mean, what letter did the word start with?
T.
Oh, T.
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 Let us sing. T.
T.
T. T. T. T. T. T. T. T. T. T. T. T. T. T. T. Two. Ta. T. 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 Guys.
We open back up at the school in a closet as Xander and Cordelia are having a makeout sesh. Her suggesting getting to class, him cutting on the light focused on the sesh, voicing that it would work better for him if she didn't talk. Her shutting the light back off, suggesting, well, maybe it works better with her with the lights off. I thought it was funny because last episode with Naj, I made the crack about how Cordy likes it with the lights off. This was me foreshadowing this scene because I had already done the script for this and watched Bad Eggs before we recorded that with her. So I was like... But I also feel Cordelia's vibes. I was like, your eyes are closed either way, so why does it matter if it's on or off? It's about the principle, though, for her. She's like, even with the lights off, I still know who I'm kissing. And
She still just doesn't want to admit it to herself in any way, so she'd rather have the lights off.
Yeah, but she goes right back to kissing him. And then they have a whole other argument because the light clicks metaphorically in his head, and then he clicks the light back on, and you're like, wait, you don't want to look at me while we do this? And he's like taking offense, and like it's lowering his self-esteem, and she agrees as she scolds him about his clothes and those god-awful shoes because she's like ragging everything. She's like,
just look at you and those clothes. Where did you get those shoes?
she had to call out every pinpoint that she could on her bulletin checklist for Xander Harris disgust. Like his lips apparently are okay though, because you notice she started from the neck down. They both get mad and almost leave, but then they grab hands on the door, touching each other again, and they feel that connection. The positive vibes are flowing. Then they start to make out again. Obviously, they have that like stupid, goofy collapse to the floor moment, and she like her hand reaches back up and pulls the light chain back off. She's like, "No, lights off." And then we flash over to a classroom where a teacher is discussing sex ed, or just sex in general. He's asking the class how many of them have spent countless hours plagued by thoughts of sex. And of course, Xander raises his hand so quick. He's like, yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my God, boy, calm the fuck down first off. The question was rhetorical. Seriously, Xander. Cordy over here is embarrassed by him, and we get that glimpse of Willow in the room looking around on edge, totally uncomfortable by the discussion, too. He asked the class on examples of consequences of sex, giving us the back and forth indirect passive aggressive battle between Cordelia and Xander, which I did not list out, but that shit's hilarious because like at first you think he's just like saying something because he's talking about different stuff, and then Cordelia fires back, and then he has comments about personal hygiene, like as if maybe she didn't brush her teeth one night, and then she goes back to talk about like some guy that thinks a Hoover technique is attractive or something because obviously he doesn't know how to grope or something. I thought that shit was funny as fuck. I'd forgotten about the dialogue, and I like it too because Willow's watching in between the two of them. Last episode she made kind of comment like, what's up with them, you know what I mean? And then we left it at that. This episode it happens a couple of times again, so she's starting to like pay attention to what's happening with them, which will make sense later. I can only breadcrumb you so far. Yeah.
You can't give me the whole loaf.
I can't give you a loaf, only crumbs. And then Willow raises her hand because she has the correct answer. She's like, I'm done with these two. I'm going to shut them off. And she's like, pregnancy. And then that guy, the teacher, he's like, Mr. Whitmore, that's his name. And he's like, yes, that's the one. Pregnancy. We hate it. He's like, don't get pregnant. You'll die.
Don't have sex because you will get pregnant and die. Don't have sex in the missionary position. Don't have sex standing up. Just don't do it. Promise? Okay, everybody take some rubbers.
Him producing the assignment for this lesson, unveiling cartons of eggs, instructing that they will split off into parenting teams to equally share responsibility of an egg. And Xander starts to ask Cordy, but she's like, fuck that, and asks another guy. And it leaves Xander with this week's extra, which we will never know the name of. And he goes over to that girl. He's like,
hey, I know we just met, but isn't that Xander Jr. you're holding?
and the girl, she's like,
I know. I didn't know how to read her. I'm like, is she like nervously laughing, like she's scared of him, or like she likes him? Because I couldn't tell.
I think it's a merge of both. I think she's like, oh yeah, I have a partner, but also she's like, it's that boy Xander in my class. Yeah. Did y'all do anything like this in school? Like have the baby that you take home or anything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We never got this experience. You went to Sumter High though, didn't you?
This was when I went to school in Washington, like in Seattle. Yeah, no, but we had like a full-on baby, like a doll that would cry and you'd have to burp it, and had like a little timer on the back where it would like, I don't know, record data to make sure you were actually like taking care of it. I totally failed the project. They made you go with the whole checklist of all the things you have to buy for a baby, and you had to go price them at the store. That was like part of the project. Like it was really intense and detailed. I definitely failed though, because I just like shoved that baby in the closet and was like, you can stay there. So I gotta turn you in.
Oh my God. That shit kills me. Yeah, we never had that. Your way makes sense to like have the checklist versus Buffy's one we came in talking about, where you actually had to go to the store and like document some prices, especially if the teacher gave you like, you know, you got to go to Walmart specifically so they know that diapers are $3.98. So that way you just don't play, oh, they cost $4.10, and he's like, no, everything's $4.98 these days, or you know, $5.99, or you know how like those iconic staple prices you see, 2 for $1, like whatever. Yeah, we didn't have any of that, which is interesting. But I do remember in middle school, like us doing like a day of sex ed talk, because I remember I was learning sign language with my friend Tori, but it was like simple, just like learn how to spell like letters with your fingers. And me and her were across the room spelling turd. This is literally the only thing I know how to sign besides like, can you make me some coffee or something like that? Of course I know how to like say that.
Oh my God, I love that. I love how turd is the only thing you
literally turd. The scene also kind of was giving me like Mean Girls vibes, because just the elements in the thing. Obviously we didn't have the you have sex and die thing, just don't do it, okay, like from the episode. I really like Xander Stark with Cordelia. I think that was the most like takeaway thing from the scene. Obviously we're setting up with the eggs that what's going to happen, but at this point we're just like thinking, oh, you know, they're getting eggs, they're getting this assignment, something easy to take care of. Obviously Sunday does low budgeted, and they couldn't get all these little baby dolls that they want to trap up in closets like Courtney, you know.
But to me, I also was like, it's a stupid idea in a way, because I'm like, first off, you gotta, how many classes do you have left for the rest of the day, and you're carting this egg around? Like, what's the odds that that egg is going to stay intact? Like, it isn't.
That's why they got
especially when you're like 16 years old. Like, no, you be in there like Xander throwing it up and trying to juggle it and stuff like that. Like,
Well, over in the library, Buffy is working with Giles on vampire issues as Willow and Xander enter, saying that she missed class, her informing them of such issues, the Gorge brothers being that issue. I like how Buffy's like, did he notice that I was tardy? Talking about Mr. Whitmore. And Xander's like, you mean absent? Like, you weren't tardy.
I was literally the same thing.
Willow's like, tardy people show up. But the teacher did have her bring her assignment, and then she presents Buffy with the egg, aka her baby, because Buffy's like, what's that? And she's like, your baby. And she's like, She's like, no, I'm not going back to that class ever again. Xander telling her about the lesson.
Well, it's the whole sex leads to responsibility thing, which I personally don't get. You gotta take care of the egg. It's a baby. You gotta keep it safe and teach it Christian values.
My egg is Jewish.
Then teach it that dreidel song.
And here we learn Willow is Jewish as well in this little statement. And it's not just a thing. Willow is Jewish. I don't think we've learned that so far. I think I might have like spoiler dropped it like back before, but Willow is a religious Jewish background.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And the age-old question for me arises again, how is Buffy just always missing class? Like, she's at school at least. She's a hallway away from the class that she's supposed to be in. And I was like, just attend and meet Giles maybe back in between your period shifts for just a second to see if he's gotten any further in his process of research, you know, because Giles can be doing this stuff while you're actually attending class. I'm surprised Snyder doesn't appear every day at every period that Buffy has to look in the window to see if she's actually in the class, because that's giving Snyder vibes. But obviously Snyder's not in this episode, which it would have been so funny to see Principal Snyder under the
Influence.
influence of this parasitic demon. That would have been so funny.
I know, I feel like he's never actually around, even though he's like the most like helicopter principal we've ever seen at the most like inconvenient times. He's never there at the convenient times. And an episode like this where like literally all hell's breaking loose and the whole students and staff and everyone is under the influence of this like thing. And where the fuck is he?
He's taking a break.
But also I'm like, you are right. You bring up a good point, because I'm like, if Buffy's not in class, she's usually in the library with Giles. And I'm like, at what point do other people start questioning that? Like, why is this bitch always in there with Giles, the librarian, like, instead of going to class?
People got to think they're in a relationship at the end of the day. Like, a handful of people got to think she's like fucking the librarian, or
Yeah,
like,
or
they
like,
don't know
that's
it's
Loki, her dad.
Yeah, that's what I was about to go into. I was about to say, or they're like thinking like, damn, is that like her dad or something? Like, they're always together. Buffy is stressing out now about how she can't take care of shit. Rest in peace to her gigapet. She's like, I sat on it and it broke. Willow assuring that she will do fine. Buffy wondering who her partner is, but class had an odd number, and what with Buffy being missing and all, she's a single mom just like Joyce.
So, I'm a single mother?
No man of her own.
Do you know what this says about me? That I am doomed to lead my mother's life. How deeply scary is that?
Giles comes out, nearly crushing Buffy's egg with the book that he's found info of the Gorch brothers in. I thought that was funny. Buffy like grabs her egg. She's like, oh shit. I was like, oh, I'm talking about you can't take care of shit. You just took care of the baby and saved its life right there. About to crunch up, about to have yolk everywhere. Or a purple goo. Then they could have found out this whole thing and probably been like, what the fuck is this, ahead of time. But no, can't have that yet. He tells them about some of their history.
It's Lyle Gorge, and that one's his brother, Tector. They're from Abilene. They made their reputation by massacring an entire Mexican village in 1886.
Friendly little demons.
That was before they became vampires.
He assumes since they are dumb men, just drawn here by the Hellmouth energy versus having purpose. Alexander's next line, too. He's like, all right, great.
Enough said. I propose Buffy slays him. All in favor?
Aye.
And then him and Willow both raise their hands and they're like, aye. I always like those little scenes. It reminded me of that other scene that he says, like, maybe in like Nightmares, he's like, you slay, we party. Like that little one that I had a favorite quote from back in the day.
Yeah.
Season 1 vibes. Giles warns of underestimating the Gorches, and then a puzzled look grows on his face, him questioning, why do you all have eggs? He's like paying attention to it now, and I'm like, oh my god. It was, I don't know, his face. I love Anthony Head. They breeze right by this for Willow to suggest Angel helping Buffy to find the brothers. Giles agreeing that's not a bad idea, and everybody else is like on board except Xander, who is snarking he doesn't see a lot of hunting in that scenario. Buffy being like, oh please, like Angel and I are just slaves to passion, grow up. Cutscene transition magic as we flash over to the graveyard, and Buffy and Angel feverishly make out as she is calling him out on not hunting, and she's like suggesting that maybe they should do as such. And then they like take 2 steps to do it. They're like, you see anything? And he's like, no, I don't see anything. She's like, well, I see your lips, come here. Which apparently is enough, like, for them to do it for a patrol is 5 steps forward, and then they go right back into acting like Xander and Cordelia in our opening scene. Not noticing the Gorch brothers, literally 50 feet away, perched on the fucking graveyard wall, watching the 2 make out. And they're commenting on the fact, like, I think it's Tector. He's like, isn't that Angelus over there making out with the Slayer? Wondering why she ain't slaying. Because the one brother's like, yeah, that's him, all right. And then Tector is like, oh, he's about to make me blush. His brother finds these to be some stupid ass questions his brother is asking too, and I think Tector is gay because he's giving me like sensitivity, like he's got to be like closeted gay vibes. Verse bottom. Because he is like, so you want to take him or should I? Like, and that's where I got the like allude to that maybe he was gay, because he's like talking about why is Angel about to make me blush, and then he's like, well, you want to take him or should I take him? Like, you get the girl, I'll get the guy. And I'm like, I was like, damn, it's Brokeback Mountain over here. Lyle says they're gonna leave it for now. He's like, we'll wait till she's alone to make their move. He's developing a plan, and all of this time Tector's like fucking ignoring him. He's like, yeah, whatever, brother. Lyle is so rude to Tector, and vamps aren't meant to be nice, but you can tell that they had this dynamic as they were brothers in their real human life before they became vampires. Like, you can tell he was always gaslighting him and making him feel lower than himself. Tector don't take much shit this episode, I will say, because he's always coming back and like kind of nagging his brother other and like antagonizing them in ways, like poking and prodding at them, because like the conversation they have later in the sewers when they're chilling in there. I like their dynamic just because we don't usually get this little bit of backstory and like some history on vampires when they're just a monster filler kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Totally.
They usually show up and like if anything they're like they say one line and that's it, but we actually get to grow a little bit and like meld with these characters in the short time that they're on the episode, you know, before Tector's dead. Over in Buffy's room, she's saying, checking off her parental duties that we were talking about in the beginning, heading off to bed and telling little Egbert goodnight, switching off the light, where we find no ventriloquist dolls or mummy bodyguards outside her window for a change. Falling asleep later in the night, we see the egg moving around by her bedside as suspenseful music's creeping in. A tentacle cord breaking out a piece of the egg and stretching over to Buffy and moving out and onto her face. Like,
I cannot. Why does something always gotta happen while Buffy's sleeping? I feel like that's so unfair to Buffy. Like, I'm like, of course, why not take advantage of her, I guess, while she's sleeping, you know? Because then she has really no effort to defend herself. But the fact that she didn't wake up and there's something crawling all over her was one thing. Secondly, why is this thing immediately getting in the bed with her? Like, I just couldn't. And how did it start as like a worm, but then the next shot you see it looks like one of those, you know,
the
where
slappy
like
hands.
the slinky hand. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like stick to something. That's exactly what it reminded me
And
of. Like,
literally, yeah, I have it written in my notes. It looked like a little slap hand, a purple one. Did you have any suspicion that the eggs were going to be anything other than an egg?
For some reason, the sex ed teacher already was giving me like weird vibes, and then like I think I just put 2 and 2 together really quick, and I was like, okay, so he's giving everyone eggs. The eggs are bad eggs, so they're probably gonna hatch some bullshit, and now everyone who's taken one home is gonna have to deal with some bullshit. And I of course didn't know it was gonna be like a slinky alien hand or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was gonna be something like obviously not a normal egg.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Cool.
So I was just waiting, but I didn't think it was going to happen while Buffy was sleeping, because I was like, what a fucking easy. I just thought she was going to like wake up with some, because, you know, like I said, it went from like a worm to a hand. So I was like, is this going to slowly like grow into a full ass like thing? And she's going to wake up and there's going to be like a whole alien in her bed or something. So I didn't know it was going to be like one of those like parasitic situations.
Yeah.
But I had no idea, but I knew it wasn't going to be a normal fucking egg. That's for sure.
It's interesting because, like, thinking about it right now in the moment, Buffy doesn't get possessed by the parasite at all. But she does mention the next morning and the next day that she's feeling a little bit drained. Even Willow feels the same way. So maybe it has to like kind of connect with its host a little bit before it can like take them over, which doesn't make sense for later because that's when it's in that one form. But later on, it looks like a full on clinger whenever like Giles puts it on Joyce's back, like takes it out the drawer like it's ready to go. It's already out the egg, you know? So maybe when they first emerge from the egg, they have to do this first to like maybe pull in some of their host energy to like grow more before they like become the like a, you know,
maybe
like a metamorphosized version of the next thing that they become, kind of like the stages, just like the parasite and alien has to get inside the host body, because it starts as the face hugger that goes into your throat and then it injects down into you, and then it later emerges from your body, and then it like sheds its layers like a lizard or snake does until it becomes the full-on xenomorph, you know? Very interesting.
Yeah. Also, I just don't, we'll get there obviously, but this was another one of those episodes, shockingly, after we just came out of like everyone being dismissive toward Buffy's concerns, and like it happens again, and then I realize how unfair to everyone that 2 episodes in a row they're like under the influence of something, whether it's Ted's cookies or this thing.
Yeah. Over in our next scene, we're in the sewer tunnels that we were talking about, where Tector is complaining about how he's tired of rats because that's what they're down there eating the whole time. He's playing with the little dead rat while he's like talking and stuff. He's like petting it and stuff. Like, you can tell he's sensitive as a fucking vampire goes. Like, they need to give him his soul back. His brother never takes him to someplace nice, he's commonly complaining about. And then he's also complaining more about Angel macking on the Slayer and his lackluster sense of code. Lyle over here trying to sleep the day away, sitting up to smart off Detector, asking, "You gonna pester me with questions all day?" Standing up to gaslight him about taking care of him her whole life. He's like, "Didn't I take care of you, boy? I will beat your ass right now. Take a 2 studies here, no rattlesnakes, blah blah blah." I don't know. I didn't have a line written out. And we see Tector, like, obviously I've been commenting on him being the sensitive one, but I wrote it in my notes that he's sensitive because he kind of gets put down by this almost in a way and like puts his head down, like looks down. He's like, well, I was just like wondered if you're intimidated about the Slayer, brother. And Lila's stressing that I'm not at all. I'm just biding my time. And little bro Tecti thinks that he's like, I think you're scared of the Slayer. Once again, I know, like in my notes, this whole time he's been sitting over here petting the rat gently while he's saying all this shit. He's like, because his mood changes. He's like talking really softly, and his brother's like loud and obnoxious, like, boy, get up, I'm gonna kick your ass. Which he does because he gets irritated. He's like, get up so I can whip you into shape. And he's like, I'll throw you out in the damn sunlight beam that's over there. You see the little beam of sunlight coming down into the bottom of the crates. And Tector is pleased by this because he's like, well, I'm not bored anymore. And it almost gave me like those kind of couple vibes because obviously they're like a brother couple. I don't think they sleep together or anything like that, but they're like, they're in a relationship, yet they're brothers. It's kind of like that brother and sister, or brother and brother, or sister and sister that are just like always together. They're like best friends for life versus having their own set of friends. They have this dynamic 100%. So Tector is fucking bored down here trying to find something to do because he doesn't feel like sleeping. So he's like, let me once again prod and antagonize my brother until he like stirs up some conversation to have with me, or even if it's us getting into a fist fight because we're vampires and we can punch each other a lot and heal fast from it. So it's not like we're like humans beating each other up and we're sore for 7 days after, That shit's funny as fuck. Back over in Buffy's room, waking up to the next morning, we see she is fine. The egg is fine, and we are left wondering, like, what the fuck happened. Downstairs, she joins up with Joyce to drink her delicious frothed coffee. She, like, walked over there and took her mom's coffee, and she's like,
at least eat something if you're going to drink that.
Discussing together the two about egg parenting, and Buffy's not into backseat parenting. She's like, can we not? Joy's calling out her energy. Buffy saying she feels funky today, grabbing the egg to head off to school, where we cut to next, and we're in the library where the trio have arrived to hang with Giles due to the teen health class being canceled because Mr. Whitmore didn't show up. This is where you were like, yep, he did some weird shit. Which kind of takes it later, because later on, whenever he attacks the security officer, I was going to be like, Courtney, did you suspect Mr. Whitmore? And you're going to be like, yes. And they all say that they could help him research, but only Xander is on board because Buffy and Willow are sluggish as fuck. Giles asks about Buffy's hunt, and she just says it was a no-go. Xander commenting on her lack of words about the night. Her angel big smoochies. She's like, shut up, Xander. The way she sounded kind of sound like very robotic. I'm like, you still feeling the Ted vibes? Like, what's happening? Giles comments on how her and Willow do seem a little sluggish. Perhaps it's the burden of parenthood. Looking into the basket of their well taken care of eggs, saying he's not stressed and his approach is much better. Pulling the egg just out of his fucking blue jeans pocket. He had that bitch in his front pocket.
Killing me.
As Willow freaks out over his careless nature because he starts topping that shit around. They're like thinking he's going to drop it, to which he does, and it doesn't crack because they're like, it didn't crack. What happened? What's going on? And he's like, 8 minutes of boiling water, and here we are. Motherfucker boiled his egg. Even though we've already said in the episode, it's where they find out. They're like, what the fuck? Like, the first time I watched this, I was like, bruh. I was like, he just dropped this thing. And I was like, Xander boiled his egg. I was like, wouldn't they possibly realize that when he turned it back in, that it wasn't the same original egg? Like, what if the guy took him home to go to cook them or something like that because they were real chicken eggs? And he's like, well, I got my breakfast for the next 2 weeks. The school supplied us with eggs, like, whatever. Or like, are they just supposed to throw them away after? Like, I don't know what happens. But I was like, that demon was the first one taken out. So, like, as I said earlier, Xander's the first one to kill one of the fucking Bazaar demons.
I know, that's crazy.
And also, he comments too about he's like, my little baby's got a thick skin. And I was like, well, little Xander has a cheating daddy. And we get that glimpse too of the cracked demon egg breaking out in the bookshelf while Giles is putting away books too. Cordy comes in to presume that Mr. Whitmore is dead, aka her hidden agenda, an excuse to get Xander to come make out with her, because what if his body falls out of closet or something? She gives like 17 excuses as to why they should start to go checking closets, and he's not getting on board with it. And she's like, closets, Xander, wink, David, I wink, like. And he's like, oh yes, let's go do that. And they peel out to go fucking make out in a closet, which nobody knows about. And here's where Willow remarks on, she's like, are they acting more weird here lately? Like, their weird is like leveling up a new level of weird. Buffy wonders if she should be worried about the teacher, Giles suggesting that she reserve her strength for the Gorches and her continued hunt tonight. Willow again bringing up Angel is helping you, right? And Buffy's like, he does what he can. As we cutscene transition magic for the second night in a row over to the graveyard to Buffy and Angel in a hot and heavy makeout sesh. He's doing all he can, all right. Every time we
Literally.
cut over, they're doing this. I know I
Do you
already said
think
it, but
do you think when they got the script for this episode, they were like, easiest one ever because they had like the most minimal lines because they're just like sucking face the whole
yeah.
time?
Do you want to know a fun fact that I remember from my childhood reading it in my Buffy trivia book? I had like this thick, like
You
400
would
page,
have
like
that.
it was like for the first 5 seasons, I think maybe, and it had like fun facts and stuff. And Sarah Michelle Gellar and David used to play pranks on each other, and they would eat like atrocious shit. Like before, like Sarah Michelle Gellar would go eat like a bunch of pickles, so her mouth tastes like pickles, or like like onions. I can't remember
Oh
some of the
my
other things, or they like
God.
smudge something disgusting in their fucking face, so that way whenever they
They
went
show
to
up
go
looking
make
like
out.
Xander with the chocolate mouth.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, more just for like the taste and the smell of their breath. Just so that way, whenever they went to make out, they were like, Sarah, what the fuck? Like, and it probably wasn't something so distasteful that you're gonna vomit and ruin the scene, but just enough for him to be like, all right, I know
I
you're
put
gonna
like
have.
a bunch of hot sauce in my mouth and see what happens.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so funny.
Buffy does tell him that they should finally hunt. He suggests it's late and that she should go home and he can hunt for her since he's going to be up all night anyways, vampire life. She needs to get home to her egg. Anyway, she agrees, helping us bring up the convo of babies one day. And of course, Angel can't have kids because, the discussion on vampires that we get. I like Buffy because she's like having little vampires. The way she says it, I'm like, because you can tell she's like, oh, I already knew this, but she's also bummed at the same time. He questions if she ever thinks about the future, though, in the scene, and she says no. And he seems glum over this, questioning, doesn't she ever think about the future, like a year or more from now? And she states to him,
Angel, when I look into the future, all I see is you. All I want is you.
Baby. And then he knows the feeling and he leans in to kiss her again. And this is like a little less make-outy and a little bit like love. But in the scene, it's less melodramatic than I think it was a Some Assembly Required, where she's like, you kiss me and I want to die. And then she runs off
I
and stuff. Like,
know.
it's not the same as that. Here, they're like, it's a healthier version of the melodrama. But
Totally.
at the end of the day, she's just so in love with this man at this point. Like, this is a huge thing too, because we really aren't in the space that we were during season 1, or like I was just saying in the beginning of this season. Ever since Lie to Me, their story has been just like picking up and gaining momentum, and now they are just both fully in it, head over heels for one another. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, since they can't stay off of each other, but it's cute. They're so in love. It's so nice seeing.
It's like bittersweet sometimes, like you said, because they make those really intense moments that are about kind of like the same regard, where it's just like them going through these usual milestones of like they're making out or they're doing this and they're experiencing those emotions, but they obviously can't like actually experience them in a normal way like we would, because we're not in love with vampires and we don't have all these circumstances.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does make it almost bittersweet, where every time you want to have that aw moment, you are almost like, oh shit, because you feel bad for them right away, because there's so many normal things that can't evolve
happen
between them.
yeah, I like that. Aw goes to aw.
Literally, because it is every time you're like, oh, they're so cute, but like, what's gonna happen? Because like you can't have babies, you can't do all these things. So for Buffy being as young as she is and to have to really like face that in a serious way, if she is this in love with him and wants to consider him as like a partner down the road, then yeah, that's a lot to like have to kind of like give away in a way, and not ever experience that because of this one person. So I never can fully enjoy their relationship. I feel like every time I'm like, yay, then I'm like, god damn it, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, I feel you.
Can't never watch no sunrise together, that's for sure.
Ain't no way. Can't ride off into the sunset
or into the sunrise.
The sun.
No suns allowed.
Joy, fulfillment, not happening. Over at the school, we get that scene with the security officer who's walking through the school, kind of like locking up, and then obviously he goes down into the basement because he sees the basement door open, and I was like, the ugly man down there.
I know, always the wrong place to be.
Lucky 19. But it's not Lucky 19. Instead of the ugly man, we got Mr. Whitmore, who knocks him the fuck out with like a pickaxe and drags his ass off, and we're like, oh shit.
I still at this point didn't really know that like these things were taking anyone over, I didn't connect that much yet. I thought that he was like the host somehow, so I kept expecting him to like morph into some like weird alien creature and him be like the center of it all, because that's kind of how I was like anticipating it. I didn't think that it would go as crazy as it did.
Yeah. Buffy arrives back home. She climbs in through her window, and I guess her window ain't nailed shut anymore.
Hell no. You know she undid those nails as soon as she could.
She really did. Or Joyce took them back off. She was like, okay, that was a little dramatic. Or Ted really did put them on. She was like, never knew about it. I don't fucking know what happened with that. Questions we'll never have answers to. And as soon as she gets in her room, so she's hearing the scratching noises of her egg, and then we see it wiggling, moving back and forth, and I was like, oh shit. When a creature bursts from it, leaping at her, apparently it's got its full next stage of life ahead of itself, because it's over here like skittering across the floor looking like fucking Sid, but the mini version of him. It's like the pitter pats are more like creepy little fucking like creepy. I don't know, it really, the skittering kind of really freaks me out in a different way than like Sid's skitters did, you know?
Yeah, because it's a lot less like footsteps, and you can tell there's like some sort of like
the extra leg
squishiness behind it. I'm like, no, please, no more.
That thing really does kind of look like a face hugger too from Alien. Like
it does.
They're very, very similar to the way that they made these things look like. It's like, I'm not scared of spiders, but it's like those people that probably do have a rational feel of spiders. Like whenever you see a spider and you're like, oh shit, a spider, and then you go like turn to grab like the newspaper to like hopefully not hit it, because you should always, people, grab a Tupperware and try to like catch the spider and just go put it outside. It deserves to live. I'm gonna leave it there. But
don't play God.
Don't play God. They deserve to live just as much as you. Yeah. I'm not saying like sleep in your bed with brown recluses, but you know, like try to get them out if you can, especially if it's a harmless little wolf spider.
I have a question though, on a serious note. Do you kill anything when you see it, like insect wise?
No. Not anymore.
Like not even a roach?
No, I don't step on them. Even then, I usually try to like grab with a paper towel real quick and just like throw it outside my door. I don't typically aim to step on them or kill them, and that's not really purposeful. I don't see them enough, but anytime, like there's often lizards have gotten in the door. Wolf spiders here at Anna's, because she has a back and front yard. There be wolf spiders that come inside because they get through the little crack in the door, and I'll just like, you know, either coerce them onto my hand, because I'm not scared of spiders like that. I'm not going to do that with a black widow. I could, because as long as you don't press on it or give it any reason to sense like you're hurting it, it's not going to bite you and inject venom. So you're good to go. It's about how you handle and care for things. But I always scoop them up on something. Or like I said, go grab a Tupperware, and I have the lid that I can slide underneath it and coerce it into the Tupperware. Then I'll just go outside and throw it in the grass. You're done.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't do all that stuff.
No, but totally. I've been trying to train Nixon the same way, because I don't know where he's developed a reflex. Like we had a little like gnat or something that was flying around in the kitchen, and he saw it land on the counter, and he went to like go smack it, and I like stopped his hand. I was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And so now I'm trying to like, you know, unreflex that reflex, because I'm like, I don't know, you didn't see me do that, because I'm not that quick to, unless it's like a mosquito and I'm actively watching it like suck the blood out of me, then I'll be like, I'm gonna smack the shit out of you.
Yeah, I will smack mosquitoes because they're pests. Like, and that's about
and there's like a million.
Yeah,
for real.
I hope everybody enjoyed our
they
insect
like
talk.
love me. I swear my blood is like sugar to them, and if like no one even needs to have bug repellent, because if you have me near you, they'll just all come to me.
Perfect. Well, I'll remember that when we go out in the woods for our 4th of July celebration.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to exploring in the summer, that's for sure.
Oh, and lots of bug spray. Back to the episode. The creature is still skittering around her room, and she picks up her damn clothes iron whenever she finally like gets the chance to like see it drop down behind her, because it drops down on her back and she throws it to the floor, and she ends up stabbing it to death with scissors. She like stabs it against the wall when it goes to run up, because it's running behind her. She senses it. She just slings her arm back and cuts it with the scissors, and then puts it on the ground. She's like Cordelia with the worm. She's like, die, die, die. She like cuts that thing up like 6 times.
I said she went straight Michael Myers on that thing.
She sure did. I like the little screeching sounds it makes out too. It's like I was like,
you almost want to feel bad for it in a way, and then you're like, wait, never mind.
I wrote in my notes, for good measure, you need to go downstairs and boil it. She calls Willow in this instance to see if she's okay. She's like, is your egg doing weird shit? And to break it immediately. And Willow's like, my egg is fine, Buffy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's like, maybe that was a Gorch Brothers trap. And this kind of sounds plausible to Buffy. And she's like, okay, well, sorry I bothered you. And they end their call. And then we see Willow's egg has cracked open and purple goo is everywhere. And she stares off after the phone call. And she's just like blank face as fuck.
Weird.
Joyce, though, has overheard the commotion an hour later, because apparently it took her on fucking 10 minutes to put her robe on, and Buffy's gonna had a 3-minute conversation on the phone with Willow for her to come crashing in and catch Buffy completely dressed. And she's like, what the fuck are you wearing head to toe outfit for at 2 a.m. and you're on the phone with somebody? Who the fuck you talking to at this hour? And I was like, oh, I was like, damn, Buffy. I was like, She's like, you should be sleeping right now. And I was like, speaking of, I was like, I wonder if Willow got attacked in her sleep, or if she's just been under the creature's influence for like a hotter second, like than we thought. And like now it's just like got her hanging out all night because she doesn't technically need sleep anymore or what. Because she was just like, her bedside lamp was on, like she was on her computer.
Looks
just
like she was like dressed still. Like
she should have been in bed sleeping. Like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
But it also sucks too because like here we go yet again. This is the second time that Joyce has found Buffy to be irresponsible and doing shady shit, like or things that she deemed that she should technically be in bed. She's not even in her pajamas. I was like, this is a lesson to Buffy. The next time she comes in her window immediately from saying, if she's got on a regular outfit, she better have like some pajamas she can throw on real quick just in case her mom happens to hear her, or another monster's hiding in her room, or Sid the dummy. You know what I mean?
Truly.
Buffy gives her some excuses, and Joyce is not buying these and sees her negative display of energy, which is her least favorite, and has now grounded her for the rest of her natural life, which means
No after-school socializing, no bronze, no nothing. Not until I say so. Do you understand?
by this point we've arrived the next morning. She's dropping her off at school, still bitching about her because, you know, she told her she was like grounded the night before, and then on the way to school she's like listing out all the fucking things that she can't do. Like her mom ain't forgot nothing. Buffy goes to bed, she's like, well, maybe my mom will be cool by the morning. No, your mom is fucking pissed.
Nope.
Buffy heads inside and passes Cordelia and asks her about her egg and if it's acting funny, who she claims is fine. She's like, eggs don't act weird, Buffy, they're eggs. And she's got this ugly ass teddy bear backpack that she's sporting too, and she's like, where is your egg? She's like, it's in my backpack. And I'm like, ew.
No, she said,
like,
it's in my bear.
It's in my bear. Yeah.
I was like, what's she talking about? And then I realized.
Yeah, which is interesting because, you know, Cordelia would never ever wear that thing, but she like doesn't she like stage it up and say like her dad bought her like this expensive bag and it actually like means something, like it's like Dolce and Gabbana or some shit.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll have you know this bag is fucking awesome. And then she gets distracted and walks off by Shanice, and she's like calling out to this black girl, oh my gosh, Shanice, is that your real hair? And I was like, what? What?
I know. I'm like, is that appropriate?
It's not.
Like,
it's not. I mean, if like me contextually as a hairdresser, if I was to see a client and like I had a client come sit in my chair, I could ask if this is your natural hair. If they typically, you know, do hair extensions or anything like that, there's additives. And this was like, I literally covered my eyes and paused the TV screen whenever I watched it because I forgot Cordelia, because it's 2 seconds. Shanice was excited because it was probably her real name in real life, and she was like, oh, I got on the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've got a whole 5-second scene where this white girl comes and appropriates me. This damn show, I'm like dead.
I cannot.
Well, Willow meets up with Buffy, and Xander is nearby, who's attempting to eat his cardboard tasting breakfast bar because he's like, this shit's nasty. And then he decides to eat his boiling egg instead because he's like, this is more ravishing. Fun fact too, the scene that Xander's in and pretty much for the rest of the episode, the shirt that he's wearing is the same shirt that they placed him in the first original Buffy Xbox game. He wears that shirt. Like there's a shirt that is of Willow's that's from another episode later on down the line. I think it's like in season 3 that they put Willow in that game too. Giles's outfit obviously on the video game is a tweed suit, so they like nailed that on the head. But that's like pretty much it. And Buffy's outfits aren't anything that we've ever seen really her in either, but it's of her style, I would say, in the video game.
I see. That's actually shocking to me that they didn't do like some of Buffy's iconic outfits or something.
I know, it would have been cool. She does have some iconic video game outfits, I will say, because the red leather pants are fucking popping. But yeah, no. Back on track though. Willow questions Buffy over with her on her egg monster, and Buffy says that she brought it to show Giles, who's in full research mode over the matter. I guess Buffy got up and called Giles that morning and told her what happened the night before, or told him what happened the night before. I'm always trying to fucking misgender Giles. Willow saying her and Giles can analyze it in the science lab with her, as Cordy has met up with them, all three walking over to meet up with Xander, while we catch a glimpse of Willow's backside, and the face hugger demon is clinging to her back, and we see a little bit of its like tail hanging out. Xander goes to bite into his egg and realizes that it's a purple gooey thing, and he freaks out, tossing it over. I was like, ain't no making egg salad with that thing. I was like, only thing you can make with the Bazour egg is a literal deviled egg. You get it? Cutting over to the labs where the creature is sprawled out on a specimen tray, and this is the scene that kind of really reminds me of the faculty after they've cut open the rat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh, but like that kind of gave me that vibes. And I think this episode came out before the faculty even came out, to be quite honest. Alien came out before everything because that was like an 80s
That's
movie.
true. Yeah.
Willow enters Giles' list and tells them that he said to get started with them and that he will show up later, which in my theory means that Willow went and got Giles fucking attacked with the monsters, and now he's like
100%.
becoming that. And they get started. Buffy is ordered to dissect it. Xander's like, do it, Buffy, you're the Slayer. And she's like, no, actually, because I'm the Slayer, that means that my work here is done. I slayed this thing. I was like, she just had that thing chilling in her backpack.
That's
like, she have it in a Tupperware or what?
I would have put that shit in like a lockbox with a damn like one of those combination locks on it just in case.
Something. She boiled it. Cordelia's bear starts to bust apart too, and the creature is clearly like starting to hatch inside of it. As the gang discusses, maybe this thing is what happened to Mr. Whitmore. Willow going on about how maybe he wasn't harmed, maybe the offspring simply used him to return to the mother 𝒣𝒍𝒆. And Xander's like, yeah, and I mean, wait, what the fuck's a 𝒣𝒍𝒆? Realizing what she said, as Cordy has reached over to grab like a rod that's in the room, knocking Buffy down, as Willow picks up something and knocks Xander over the head with it, as the screen fades to black but reopens to light as the closet door is being opened and Buffy and Xander's bodies are being stashed in there by like a bunch of students. And now we're like, oh damn, it's not just a few people, like the school is getting overrun because we've got 6 other fucking students. I was like, they were caught hella off guard in the scene. Like, we're meant to believe that Buffy got knocked out by Cordelia. I was like, okay, like what?
I
like,
know,
she's the
right?
Slayer. But I was like, maybe the demon like gives them like an extra boost or something like that.
Probably.
Elsewhere in the school, Willow, Cordy, and others grab tools from a room and they move down to the basement area, passing through the hole in the wall that Mr. Whitmore is guarding. This music too is like very intense. It kind of reminds me of the score from like the House of Wax movie. Like when the house is melting, it's like 100% spot on. I'm like a music buff. I'm like obviously like was a musician growing up. I was in band all my years and I love like listening to scores and stuff for movies. So I pick up on this type of stuff. So I'm like kind of psycho when it comes to that. I really should have probably went to like college for like music,
Sound.
like yeah, for like sound and stuff. Cause I really do call it like that. And it sounds a lot like it, but we flash over to the library again as Joyce is entering looking for Buffy. And this is the first time that we've seen Joyce in the library because she didn't come here in the School Hard episode because they were making the weapons for Buffy's like Night of St. Vigius. Like they had that quarantine because remember Cordelia was working with the gang whittling stakes and stuff and Jenny was in there.
Did she never ended up in the library whenever they had that like PTA thing or whatever?
That is the same episode.
Oh, okay.
No, she's never been in there as far as I know. But this is also one of the other few times that we've really, and honestly, I think maybe only the second like one-on-one dialogue scene that she's had with Giles since Angel when she was in the hospital with him and she was like talking about how he was nice and you know Darla came to the house and all that stuff. I was like, I like seeing Giles and Joyce paired up in scenes together because this is a dynamic we don't ever get to see.
And I think we feel like Giles is Buffy's dad, so it's almost like seeing their two parents or like her two like guardians get together and have like a meeting.
Yeah. Well, Joyce finds Giles in there who claims Buffy has not been there today, saying that he's been waiting on her also. And this is the last fucking straw for Joyce, who's like fucking kind of starting to shout. And she's like, oh, wait, I'm shouting. And she's like, this is a library. Should I be whispering? Like she asked that to Giles. I was like, laugh my fucking ass off. What? She also questions him if he has children, and he claims no, but working there has him feeling like he does sometimes. AKA Buffy, like you just said. Joyce tells him that it can be a burden and how they are irresponsible. Once again, setting up our theme for irresponsibility this episode. She takes notice to the book that Giles has open to. It's like she's like reading out. She's like, demon offspring, like whatever it says about the demons. And he's like, oh, this is just a hobby of mine, and like slides it away from her. She's like, it has nothing to do with Buffy in any way. Like he literally says that. Questioning her again about Buffy though having supposed to be there because he's like, I gotta get you off track from this book, which is funny because Giles is already possessed by this point by this creature or like under its influence. True. So I was like, interesting. But he claims that he heard a noise, and Joyce, when she turns around, he grabs out of the fucking drawer one of those little demon things, and the way he just places it on Joyce's back and she like freaks out. I was just like, ugh.
Can I just say, yeah?
I see your yeah and raise you a yeah.
This skews me a lot more than like the creature hatching and taking you over. Just the fact that he placed it on her and it had to wriggle on her, and I was like, but also fuck this because Giles just got Joyce. Like this is deceiving as shit.
I agree. No way. This is why I said I don't like when Giles steps out of pocket because his character is so opposite nature that when he really acts like in any kind of way like shady or calculated in the wrong way or has ill intentions, I'm like, get the fuck out of here, Giles. I don't like you this way.
We get a fake commercial break because, you know, in regular times we would have a commercial break at this point. Or if you're poor and you can't afford to pay for Hulu and Disney and all the things to not have ads. We like me. AKA also me. Except I own all the Buffy seasons, so I don't ever have to worry about shit like that.
That's true.
We fade back into Joyce awake and leaving the library with Giles as they join up others marching down to the basement of the school. Buffy has awoken and wakes Xander in the closet, and he's delirious, head being bashed and all. Quotes, last time Cordy dragged me in here, it was a lot nicer. And Buffy's like, what? And he's like, oh, crazy talk, head trauma.
He better be glad he had some sort of crutch to lean on.
Right? They wonder what the fuck is up, assuming it was the hatchlings, wondering why also not kill them and just having locked them away, taking notice also to 2 eggs that they conveniently placed in there with them, hoping that they'd get got also.
I know,
And
like, what the fuck?
I like Buffy, because I would have probably, if I were her, just stomped them motherfuckers because you're a slayer, like, but also she didn't want to mess up her shoes. So she picks up a fucking, like, tool chest or something that's over in the corner, and she just smashes that down on him. I was like, ooh. And then she kicks down the fucking door, fucking awesome slayer strength. Heading to the library to look for Giles, which is empty. Like, if anybody, like, just to throw that out there, if Xander was going to get paired up with anybody, at least it's Buffy. And then I also like how everybody else is possessed except Xander and Buffy. So this is another team up, kind of like when they had to go save Willow from Moloch, and they get to work one-on-one together. And I say that for a reason, because of what's about to come up. Heading to the library to look for Giles, which is empty. The 2 recalling the name of the demon Willow muttered earlier. Buffy's like, a bozo? And he's like, a bazor. And she's like, yes, that was it. I said that. Thankfully, Giles' research books are just all opened up because, Joyce had them out in her sight. So they're just all there. And they get all the deets on the demons. The elements also from the music here, I noticed that are from the second Buffy game. Like some of the little, like the kind of like sounds in the background. Those are little things that are like randomly in the music, not the full score, but like some of the stuff. And I was like, I don't know, it's just funny that I know these things. I'm like, damn, I'm kind of like I said earlier, kind of psycho. But I just pay attention. I just remember these things. Obviously they mean something to me. Down in the basements, though, we see everyone that's being controlled removing eggs from the ground and placing them in hay bins. Some other students are like chiseling at the ground and like cleaning it up. And obviously they're harvesting these eggs. As underneath, we see that there's the big mother bazaar, like a big like skin-like version of it. Like it's huge, by the way. It's fucking huge. While simultaneously, Buffy reads the passage informing us on the bazaars.
Prehistoric parasite. The mother hibernates underground, laying eggs. The offspring then attach themselves to a host, taking control of their motor functions through neural clamping.
Neural clamping? That sounds skippable.
So our people are taking orders from the Mama Bazaar, which begs the question,
what does Mama want?
Somebody help me!
They hear screams for help in the hallways, and we see one of the demons is latching on to Jonathan, and he's freaking the fuck out. But when Buffy and Xander go out there and find him, he's like under its thrall already, and he just stands up like he's like, I'm fine, I slipped. And I'm like, bruh, we heard you screaming like somebody was wringing your fucking neck, and then you're just like, oh, I fell. Like I would never act like that.
So fast. I'm like, that was 2 seconds.
That's how people act when they got a spider on them and they don't like spiders or some shit. Like, whatever. I was like, thank God that these 2 aren't dumb. And these parasites also need to learn to lie better after they take over a host. Buffy is smart, though, and they decide to follow after him, getting led down to the basement. She's like, I hear mommy calling. And they go down there where everything is taking place. And LOL, this is the part that I was saying that kind of ties back to 𝑺𝒖𝒏𝒏𝒚𝒅𝒂𝒍𝒆, Jane, because when Xander goes to like pass through the hole in the wall with Buffy, he's telling Buffy, he's like, be careful. And then he trips himself and falls through the fucking frame.
He don't just trip, he like literally fell on his whole ass face. He like somersaulted through the hole. I was like, how'd you even do that?
Yeah, because in 𝑺𝒖𝒏𝒚𝒅𝒂𝒍𝒆, Jane, he climbs the fence with Buffy to get into CRD, and like she hops over it gracefully, and all of a sudden we just see his body drop, and he's like, ah, and falls to the ground. Like, this is funny, but it's just kind of a backhanded funny thing for this, because he literally tells Buffy to be careful, and then he's just not careful himself.
It was like
so I'm
instant karma.
What? Down there, they find everyone doing their dig work, and Buffy claims she's going to need to find a big weapon because they see that thing in the floor, and disappears to find one as Xander walks into the room, and he just walks through the room like he's part of the group too, and Giles like hands him the carton of eggs, and he's like, thanks, and then he doesn't say anything, but he just chunks it to the ground.
I know.
Like what?
I would have taken all of them right to the boiler.
I would dump it back in there with Mama Bazaar. Or the boiler. Yeah, Xander's like, oh, I got my next breakfast for the week. He's like, I'll have steak and eggs. Bad eggs. But he just walks around there, and obviously he like takes notice to Cordelia more than anything, and we can kind of see his care for Cordelia this episode, because he kind of follows off to like help her, even though like Willow's down there, or Buffy's mom's down there. But he also kind of wants to see where they're like, because obviously they're carting off the eggs to go somewhere with them, so I think he's trying to like beeline it with them to see where they're heading to. Buffy exits back through the hole to find some weapons, and she ends up finding like a big pipe, and this is just very inconvenient with her because the fucking Gorch brothers appear behind her, And she sees them, and Lyle tells her, he's like, I told you this weren't over. He didn't say this wasn't. He says this weren't over. Weren't. Like, boy, this is why I know that they're kind of stupid and they didn't have good education back in the day when they were alive in the 1800s. Tector, he's like, I think she's cute and little. Maybe they can keep her. Buffy tells them, guys, this really isn't a good time, but it's gonna be, thinks Lyle, as Buffy hits both of them with the pipe, beating them up, kicking Tector, and Lyle getting mad because he's like, hey, that's my brother. She's like, bitch, like, y'all are both fighting the Slayer. You think she's gonna not fight one? Like, y'all are stupid. But either way, he attacks her after that and knocks them both back through the hole into the room, tumbling out in front of everyone. And they catch eyes with like everything going on there. And like, what the fuck is happening in here? He's like, what the hell is this? Buffy notices Joyce is down there too. She's like, Mom? And Willow looks up to them and she's just like, kill them. This is supposed to be why you don't like Willow this episode.
Hell no.
Like, she wasted no time. She's like, destroy them.
No time at all. Like 1 second.
The students obviously start moving to do as ordered, and Buffy defends herself against them as Lyle does the same. The two fighting together for a moment, him asking again what the hell's going on, and Buffy saying it's a long story. Having knocked some of the students out the way, they begin to then battle each other again, both stopping again to take on students whenever they've had this little breakup of energy. And I was like, I love how they're kind of like a catch-22 in this situation, because they almost have to work together for a second to defend off the students, but then in between they're going back to fighting one another and then going back to fighting the students, like side by side for 1 second, not side by side. It's just a really cool dynamic they threw in here, and that's what I said, that like the elements and the quirkiness in this episode is kind of like unmatched to something we haven't seen before.
That's true.
And I was like, the Gorch brothers chose the wrong fucking week to come to town, apparently, too, because it's very unfortunate for Buffy also having two problems once again going on.
At the same literal time.
But I was like, this happened a couple of times now, especially in What's My Line. But when this one shows up, she has learned to not really be overwhelmed, I think, by multiple issues going on anymore. Especially after the events of What's My Line, she can like juggle a little bit more responsibilities, even though like her mom thinks she's irresponsible. Like she has all these other responsibilities going on.
She said, I gotta roll with the punches.
Literally, she's like, I got them coming from all fucking angles.
Literally.
Xander still follows Cordelia and a student down into the tunnels, knocking out the student following behind her. And then Cordelia turns around and tries to swing on him. He ducks and he's like, I don't want to hurt you some of the time. Trying to dispose of the eggs too that she's carrying, so she tries to like get them from her and stuff, but she punches him in the back of the head where he got like hit earlier, and he's like, hey, that's my boo-boo. He doesn't say my boo-boo, but like he said, that's my bump. And then he like gets mad and punches her out, but like he gets immediately upset by the fact, because you can see it on his face, he's like, fuck, I just punched Cordelia, like I didn't want to do that, but like, you know, you kind of had to, because this bitch was about to like fuck you up if you didn't.
Literally, you had no choice.
Apparently Tector, he's got ticks. Tector is back on his feet and enters the room, spitting in his hands too, because he's like, all right, giddy up, it's my turn with the Slayer, I'm not unconscious anymore. Countrymen be like. He's ready to get back into the fight, but notices Mama Bazoar on the floor, who is like starting to growl too, and this thing sounds weird as fuck when it growls. It's like,
I know. I'm like, what the fuck?
And he's like, well, looky here. And then that one big eye the Mother Bazoar has like opens up, and he just like stares at it, and he's like, what does he say? He's like, well, hello there. Like, aren't you precious? Whatever the fuck he says. And then this motherfucker whips out that tentacle and wraps it around his neck and yagas his ass in there with it and eats his ass. And I was like, what? This thing can eat people? Like, what happened? What was going on? Lyle screams out his brother's name. He's like, Tector! Looking at Buffy, he's like, this is all your fault. And she's like, what? How? I just like,
he's like, I told y'all this wasn't a good fucking time.
Literally. But I love that he places blame on Buffy. She's like, bruh, like, I can't even. He flips her over onto the ground as Joyce comes over her head with a fucking pickaxe, and thankfully Buffy rolls out the way and dodges it because Mama's about to take her fucking brains out. The Bazoar mom too conveniently reaches its tentacle back out and straps it around Buffy's fucking legs and pulls her ass. And I was like, well, damn, it's the episode where Buffy dies. Fuck, damn. Like,
we didn't see it coming.
They successfully killed everybody, but no, because obviously on the way down, Buffy grabs that pickaxe that's right there, and we hear the monster start screeching and screaming as Buffy is like making the slashing sounds, and it's obviously out of sight because she's in its belly or wherever the fuck she is. Moments later, the clingers all drop from everyone's bodies as well, Buffy having slayed the mama, and everybody just drops and passes out. Lyle looks on at everyone, and he's just kind of like, oh, well, I just got me a little feast here and all the things. All the things. And then he gets spooked, though, whenever the pickaxe comes back out. And then Buffy climbs up out the hole with fucking black goo all over her. And the look on her face just screams, you might want to not fuck with me right now. Just looks up at him. And it's kind of like giving like the messier version of like, after she slayed Luke, whenever she's like standing there with the blue light on her, and you're like,
100%.
Slayer stance. And once again, Buffy is the fucking best. She is a badass, and she scares this motherfucker right off because he just looks at her and he goes,
All right, it's over.
I know, I love it.
Outside the school, everyone's leaving, and Giles is producing a cover story that is like a gas leak happened in the school. He's like, this is a weird event. Like, it's crazy. All of us were here and we almost died. It was Marcy again. She let the gas down in the basement.
And no one remembers anything.
They don't. Well, they all choose not to, especially. And they pass by Xander to say what it was really. He's like, what really did happen? He's like, I'll let you know tomorrow. Just keep it up with the gas leak story. Xander asking Willow and Cordy if they are okay. Willow asks if she really hit him, and he agrees. And then Cordy gets all amped up, and like she's like, oh, did I hit you too? Because she wants to feel included. She's like, well, not because I hurt you, just because I don't want to feel left out. Joyce finds Buffy in the crowd and comments on the gas leak and how she arrived not finding Buffy where she asked, Buffy claiming that she was in the gym. Joyce scolding her about like how she had made things very clear earlier, telling her how she needs to learn responsibility once and for all. Until further notice, she is hella grounded not to leave her fucking room at any time except to go to school in the bathroom. I was like, damn, she can't even have food. She's like, is this clear? And then now Buffy's like, okay, now I see the clarity of the crystal clear. If she said it's the crystal clears for me. She's like, I won't leave my room. And then we clip over to see Buffy making out with Angel, alluding to them being outside because we see like the trees and we think they're in the cemetery again. Him stopping to ask if she's sure she's not going to get in trouble. Once again, kind of breadcrumbing us that they're outside. She claims she earned this and isn't breaking any rules as we hear Joyce holler out that she needs to go the fuck to bed. And we see Buffy's bending the rules as she leans against her windowsill in her bedroom. So we get the little pan out and Angel's just outside on the roof as they kiss some more through the window because she's technically not breaking any rules. She's in her room and he's still there to make out. We fade to black and here endeth the episode. I really did enjoy the exploration of an invasion and how it happens in Sunnydale versus the fact that like I like the faculty and Alien, seeing how Sunnydale like does their rendition of this. I think it's great. And it really does, looking into it, like in closing off where we did Buffy's relationship and with Angel, it's really setting us up for what's about to come next episode. And I'll say some more about that in a second. But as for the demons, we really didn't know how the mama got there. I was left really confused with like, did this demon just wake up under the school and it's been dormant for years or something? And all of a sudden it's putting its plan in motion, which obviously its plan was just not to really do anything malevolent as far as like, because it wasn't crawling out the ground and ready to eat everybody. It was just trying to procreate so that way it could get its little spawn out there. But the Bazours themselves, I read online, them having like the egg-like chicken appearance was like a cool camouflage for them in the real world. So that way they could blend in. I thought that was an interesting element that I was like, oh, that's why they probably look like regular chicken eggs. And then the fact that they clamp their bodies onto the spines of the human host, obviously like inserting their tentacles like into the central nervous system, had me wondering like when they fell off the host later, if like the wounds from the insertion points have to heal because they're human beings and they have to insert. It's not like it just magically disappears afterwards. Like didn't everybody that got infected by these things go home and look at their backs and be like, what are these fucking like deep ass wounds? I know
that is a good point, especially because it had like, I assume like more like tentacle type situation. So I just like imagine all these like small like cupping.
Unless it is something like that, it kind of penetrates and almost like secretes something into the skin and gets into the nervous system.
Still, you have like a hickey or something from that, or like a mark or a bruise or something.
A cupping session with Courtney and Brandon.
That's what I said. It reminded me of like cupping. That's how I pictured it. Like when you have like these spots all over your back and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But also kind of left me with questions of wondering if when it ate Tector, did he like dust inside of it, or is he just in there being digested and he's alive? Because he's an undead vampire, so it's not like something eating him could kill him or he needs to breathe. So is just he forever alive? And did Buffy like wave at him whenever she was in there slicing it up? Like, I really don't know. I'm assuming it dusted, but I don't know. That's like really all I got left to say about the episode.
Did she dust him while she was in there? Like,
maybe she chop his head off with a pickaxe.
It was just like a lot of fun where there was not a lot of serious context, so you could just kind of enjoy it for what it was, which for the most part was kind of stupid, I think, and like meant not stupid like the episode is stupid, but it just made you realize that you were going to be left with way more fucking questions than answers as to how like all of this evolved and came to be. So yeah, I think it kind of lets you let that go, that need for answers that we always have at the end of every episode, where we're like, where did this come from, and I wonder what happened with this person. And like you kind of don't have that here because you understand that it's not with such serious context, and maybe it is because it doesn't really move the show's plot completely along, like other than obviously the evolution of constantly making out every 5 seconds between Buffy and Angel. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Daddy Angel. Angel. Okay, so for metaphor for this episode, thematically, it's an episode about sex. It screams sex talks and responsibility. Xander and Cordy are obsessed with sex in the biology class. Since they are Buffy's metaphorical heart and shadow, I know we haven't learned about Xander being her metaphorical heart, but he does, and obviously Cordelia represents his shadow. Our viewpoint for the show comes from Buffy. This would have us believe that she's also thinking about sex herself. And if she's thinking about sex, there's a person that she's thinking about having sex with, aka Angel. And then obviously because she quotes, Angel, when I look into the future, all I see is you. All I want is you. Sex requires, though, both maturity and responsibility. Responsibility being the surface point of the episode, what with the eggs themselves being the lesson, and Joyce constantly referring to Buffy being as such responsible. Buffy doesn't seem to visibly be showing much responsibility, what with her blowing off her research for the Gorches to make out with Angel instead. Angel in these ways diverts her from her duty. Buffy is still seeming to follow her urges. In the episode's end, she is bending the rules of her being grounded in her room as well by making out with Angel through the window, so she's still showing a little bit of a lack of care for responsibility and things such as that in order to be making out with Angel. And now it's totally okay to be making out with your boyfriend, I will say. Obviously, you're in a relationship. Yes, you can kiss them, but it's a relationship that you're hiding from your mother already because she knows this. She's going to remember this guy is older than you if she ever has to meet him like that. She's going to remember she has met Angel, but she doesn't know anything ever really came of that. And Buffy is just like kind of, I don't know, putting herself in the situation where she is going to like constantly be proving to her mom that she's like kind of being irresponsible, but it's setting us up for like some of the more influential things that are going to be coming next episode whenever it comes into everything that's been setting it up. I never really noticed for this episode how much it really does like breadcrumb us into the next one and set up a lot of the stuff, and like the messaging here is really pivotal for the next 2 episodes that we get into.
Interesting.
So, fun facts for the episode, though. Lyle and Tector Gorch were 2 characters in the 1969 film called The Wild Bunch. Another character from that movie is also called Angel, so I think that's interesting that the trio is like from there. But Joss Whedon got the Lyle and Tector character from that because he actually really loved The Wild Bunch movie, and he was like, what if I did a spin on it and took the 2 characters for that movie and said that they became, because they were like obviously wild Texans that were probably like, shooting off pistols and causing chaos and stuff like that. And he's like, what if they became vampires and came to Sunnydale? So he made the story off of that. Pretty cool little element taken from something like that. Buffy told her egg, goodnight, Egbert. Speedy Egbert was a computer game popular around the time of the airing of this episode. Egbert's name comes from that. Xander's cruel to be kind phrase is from Hamlet, which I didn't really comment on, but it's a quote that he made in the thing. And obviously, like, the show used Shakespearean like context and verses and lessons, like we had in Out of Mind, Out of Sight. The context was coming from The Merchant of Venice. I had to there's always those little sprinklings, and like Giles said quotes like in The Dark Age at the beginning, like whenever Giles pauses and he's like, and the rest is silence. That's also like from Shakespeare too. So we're just gonna always see like elements from Shakespeare coming in. Next, a bezoar is an indigestible object trapped in the digestive tract. Bezoar is also mentioned in Harry Potter, and in the Harry Potter realm, a bezoar was a stone-like mass taken from the stomach of a goat, which accurate to its actual description of what a bezoar really is in the dictionary, and that acted as an antidote for poisons, one being the basilisk venom that they make in potions class. Technically, you would be using this to make an antidote too. redirect and counteract the poisons. Thought it was interesting. I was like, I didn't know a 𝒂𝒍 really existed. It's not a demon.
Me either.
The plot of this episode could be based on Robert Heinlein's The Puppet Masters or Invasion of the Body Snatchers, both films. I think the first one actually is a book. The term bad egg is a dated slang for an irresponsible person as well.
Yeah, very like old term.
Bad egg. Like, now you don't hear that. You hear like bad apple, fall from the tree type things nowadays, or you know what I mean, or maybe even other spins. But let's get into our final slays.
Final slays.
Final slays for bad eggs. My quote for the episode, I have 2 because I feel like I always choose 2. Next episode, I'm gonna have like 6. Lyle, when he yells at Buffy, "This is all your fault," and the Mama 𝒂𝒍 eats Tector and shit, and she's like, "What the fuck? Like, how?" And then I like when Giles, when he asked Buffy how the hunt went, and she's like, "It was a no-go," and then he's confused. He's like, "You didn't go, or it was unsuccessful?" Just because he's like, he has that mindset that he doesn't get the slang and stuff like that. So I was like, look at Giles being cute.
Mine are from Cordy and Xander's banter, which I've just been like really here for lately. But it's like when they're in that closet and they're going back and forth with the light situation, and Xander's like, "It would work a lot better for me if you didn't talk." And of course, Cordy gotta like immediately pop off and be like, "Well, it will work a lot better for me if the lights were off." And I'm just like, such valid points for both of them that I can't even like not love the banter between them, like I said.
Who's your shining slayer?
Well, initially, as a joke, I wrote down that Willow was my shining slayer because she was the only one in sex ed to actually answer the fucking question and move the point along.
Yeah.
While Xander and Cordy were like stuck arguing with each other in front of everyone, quite frankly, making it obvious that they have something probably going on. They're not doing a good job, to be discreet, I'll say. But obviously, Buffy has to be the slayer.
She gotta be.
Because, I mean, that was just like way too badass to not acknowledge her coming out looking like she literally has like ink all over her or something. Like, she's just so fucked up looking, but the look on her face definitely screams, "You better fucking run or I'm gonna destroy every single thing about you."
Yeah, mine's Buffy. Obviously, she is the baddest bitch. So I was like, she scared the fuck out of Lyle Gorch and got him the fuck out of there. She stopped the invasion. So gotta give it to Buffy.
She literally had to do 2 tasks at once for her to need Adderall the whole episode and then really come through and be doing 2 things at one time. It really brings things full circle for me.
Absolutely. I had Xander as like a thing because I mentioned that earlier, that Buffy and Xander basically help kind of take down this stuff. Buffy did obviously way more of the work, but Xander was just like left there to help, and Xander's always down to help. So
yeah.
Weekly wigs. Mine were the baby 𝒂𝒍s. I feel like the little clinger legs, like and shit, just they're cool looking, but I ain't trying to have one on me.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think my weekly wig specifically are 2 parts that I can think of. One is our first introduction to what the fuck is inside these eggs, and it coming out of like Buffy's egg and starting as the worm and evolving into like the little slap hand thing, like we said. And then when it's like crawling across her floor, making the noises that are like, I can't. So yeah, that's my weekly wigs.
I love it. Slayer at predictions. This one is crazy because we're getting together this weekend, and I guess for this one I'm just going to duo the 2 episodes and give you both title drops for it. The next episodes are called Surprise and Innocence. So just for Surprise, any ideas of what might be going on that one?
Hell no. How am I supposed to know? That is so... I don't have a guess for either of them, really, but...
All right, I'll breadcrumb you because I have to. But so that way I can just set up a little bit. This episode is Buffy's birthday.
Ooh.
And I actually will tell you also that I realized upon writing the script for it, because of the way the episode is and the way it like sets it up, we actually can learn Buffy's birth date that episode. So you'll know by when we watch that what Buffy's zodiac.
And it'll be around my birthday.
That episode actually will air the day after your birthday for surprise.
Nice. That's
so you and
fitting.
Buffy's birthday and our recording sessions and releases are in sync, which is very interesting.
Nice.
I'll also be coming to give you your birthday presents whenever we watch it together too. So it's meant to be. I love it. It's like the universe doing the things. But any thoughts though with the elements of Buffy's birthday and things like that, having surprise?
I have a feeling that It's the only thing I have is that it's not a surprise that she wants. So
Sunnydale, it's the Hellmouth. Surprise!
that's all I've got. It could be anything, really.
Okay, and then the episode to follow that is called Innocence.
Are they both like, or do we see a lot of Drusilla?
Yep.
Okay, I just had that feeling for some reason. I don't know why I keep attaching her in my head to that word, to the word innocence, I guess, because she, like, we saw her more as that until, like, whatever the fuck happening with her now. So obviously we're probably going to see Drusilla, and the surprise is probably herself being a fucking psychotic bitch. So,
All right.
and I don't know, maybe no one has innocence left after this because everyone's dead.
Part of that is accurate.
Hopefully not Buffy, though.
Someone might die. I'll put it that way.
It better not be Buffy, because we already can see what happens. They'll have to send for another Slayer, and then there'll be 3 of them, because Buffy's not actually going to die.
Nope, Kendra has to die to make the next Slayer.
Oh, shit.
Buffy
yeah,
can't
you're right.
activate them.
You're right.
Buffy's time is over for that. All right, well.
That's true. Well, that's all I got.
I'm glad, because, oh my God, it's going to be crazy. This is whenever I said intense and all the other things, like, this is where the B line of the back half of the season's real plot comes and thickens. And
that's exciting.
It's going to be horrible. It's going to be awesome.
Horrible.
That being said, thank you guys, as always, for checking out our coverage on Bad Eggs. Does this one rank lower for you guys? Like they say, they put it in the bottom of the barrel. Is it bottom of the barrel for you? It's not for me, but it is for some people, I guess. Anything giving y'all the weekly wigs in this episode? Let us know your thoughts. I hope you guys are ready to get into the next couple of episodes with us. I am beyond pumped, as you can already tell. I'm like hyping my fucking shit right now. So we will meet you guys back here next week to talk about Surprise.
Surprise.
Happy birthday, Buffy.
And me.
And Courtney.
At the Slayer?
Yep.
Ain't that Angelus with her?
Yep.
Well, how come she ain't slaying? How come he's about to make me blush?
Well, I don't know, Hector. And how come you always asking me so many stupid questions?
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale. We also would like to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatch podcast.
Or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com. Additionally, we will be choosing one of your messages to shout out in an upcoming episode release. And if you happen to love abandoned places but prefer them vampire-free, check out Echoes of Elsewhere, an urban exploration podcast, where I interview urban explorers about the eerie spaces they uncover, anything from haunted schools, forgotten mansions, and tunnels that probably don't lead to the Hellmouth. From history to mysteries, tips and tricks of the trade, I dive into all things Urbex. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, the Earth is definitely doomed.
This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.